In this lesson, we're going to be learning about the traditional algorithm or long division method using a 3-digit dividend. Here we have a picture of Curious George. He and a dog have been playing in the mud. And you might be wondering, what does this picture of Curious George have to do with division? Well, hopefully it will bring to mind the saying that will help us remember the process of going through the division algorithm. So there's a little saying, dirty monkeys smell bad. And if you think about Curious George and him being dirty, and think about him smelling bad, hopefully this will help you remember the steps and the procedure to go through division, because the D in dirty stands for divide. The first thing we have to do is divide. Then we multiply. That's the M for monkeys. Then we subtract. That's the S for smell. And then finally bring down, and that's the B in bad. So let Curious George help you with division. Okay, here's our first situation. We have 616 divided by 4. Remember, 616 is our dividend, and 4 is our divisor. So we're going to be using the traditional algorithm. However, I always think that it is helpful to have my list of friendly numbers off to the side, just to keep those fresh in my mind. Okay, I've also written my letters over here for dirty monkeys smell bad to help me remember my process. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 6. I start with the hundreds place. That's how division is a little bit different from other operations. Instead of starting in the ones place, I start in the hundreds place. So my first step is to divide, and I'm going to divide 6 by 4. So I have to think to myself, if I have 6, how many groups of 4 can I make? And my answer would be 1. Okay, so I've done the divide part. Now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply that 1 times the 4 and write it down below the 6. So multiplying 1 times 4. Always multiplying the part of the quotient times the divisor. And 1 times 4 is 4. I've multiplied. Next step is to subtract. I'm going to subtract the 6 minus this 4. My answer is 2. Then the next step is to bring down. I'm going to go to the next number in my dividend and bring it down next to what was left after I subtracted. So I'm even going to draw a little arrow showing that I'm bringing it down and write that 1 here. Now I'm going to repeat this process again. I'm going to start back with the divide. This time I'm taking this 21 and dividing it by 4. Well, I know that 21 is not evenly divisible by 4 because it's not one of my friendly numbers. But I do know that 20 is divisible by 4. It's the largest number I can get closest to 21 without going over. So I think to myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 20 is the 5th multiple of 4. So I should be able to put a 5 here. That's my dividing. 21 divided by 4 is 5. Then I'm going to multiply this 5 times 4 and write it here. So quotient times divisor, written down here. And I know 5 times 4 is 20. Now I've multiplied. My next step is to subtract the 21 that I divided minus the 20 that I got when I multiplied. That leaves me with 1. And then I'm going to bring down the 6 so that it is next to the one that was left. And that's the B, bringing down. Then I start the process again. I take this 16, divide it by 4. I know that 16 is friendly for 4 because it is the 4th multiple. So I'm going to write 4 up above because 16 divided by 4 is 4. That's the dividing part. Then I'm going to multiply that 4 that I just wrote times the divisor and write it down at the bottom. 4 times 4 is 16. That's the multiply part. Then I subtract. 16 minus 16 is 0. There's nothing left to bring down. There are no more digits over here. So I know that I am done. What I'm left with is 0. And what that means is that there is no remainder. That means 616 is evenly divisible by 4. So my final quotient is 154. I am going to go through and check my work because that's what good students do. I'm going to take that quotient, 154, and multiply it times my divisor, which was 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 1 goes up, 6 comes down. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21. 2 goes up and 1 goes down. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. I'm done multiplying and I get the same answer, the same product, as the divisor, or dividend, sorry, that I started with, 616. Now let's look at a slightly different variation. It's very close to the same problem. A second ago we did 616 divided by 4. This time we're going to do 618 divided by 4. So that way we can talk a little bit about remainders. So I'm going to start with the same thing. Over here I'm going to list my dirty monkeys smell bad to help me remember what I'm doing. I start in the hundreds place. 6 divided by 4. Okay, we're going to look at one more example here. 804 divided by 3. I'm going to start by dividing 8 divided by 3. And I know that 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 times 2 would give me 6, which is as close as I can go without going over. So 8 divided by 3 is 2. I multiplied. 2 times 3 is 6. Then I subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. Then I bring down this 0. So now I'm left with 20. I'm ready to repeat my process. Divide 20. I never go back up here. Always come down here after I bring down. 20 divided by 3. Well, I look over here on my friendly numbers. I can get to 18, but I can't get to 21. So I know 18 is the 6th multiple. So that means that 20 divided by 3 is 6. Multiply the 6 times the 3, which is 18. subtract. 20 minus 18 is 2. And then bring down the 4. Now I'm left with 24. That's the new part that I'm dividing. Back to the top of my Dirty Monkey Smell Bad. 24 divided by 3 happens to be easily divisible, and that's 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And that leaves me with a 0. So divided, multiplied, subtracted. There's nothing to bring down. There are no more digits up here under the house. So that means I'm done. And a 0 left over means no remainder. That means nothing to record at the top. To check my work, I take my quotient, 268. I multiply it by my divisor of 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 more is 20. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 more is 8. And 804 is exactly what I started with up here. So if I have the same thing, if they're both equal, my answer must be correct. Slightly different problem. 805 divided by 3. I'm going to go through that same process with you. 8 divided by 3. If I'm looking on my friendly numbers list, I can get up to 6. And I know that 2 times 3 equals 6. So 8 divided by 3 is 2. Multiply, 2 times 3 equals 6. Subtract, which gives me 2. Bring down that 0. Ready to start my process over again. This time I'm dividing 20, not going back up to the dividend. 20 divided by 3 is 6. So I record that here. 6 times 3 is 18. Multiplied. Subtract equals 2. Bring down the 5. Now I'm ready to move to my last part. 25 divided by 3. If I look on my friendly numbers list, I can get to 24, but the next multiple is 27. So 24 is the 6th multiple. Sorry, the 8th multiple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So up at the top, I'm going to record 8. Then I know 8 times 3 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. And there's nothing up here to bring down. So that means 1 is my remainder. And I must come up to the top and write remainder 1. Check my work. Start with my quotient, 268 times my divisor of 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 more is 8. I get 804, but I'm not done because I have this remainder here. I'm going to have to add that part in. Add the leftovers. That leaves me with 805. 805 here. 805 here. My answer is correct. So this lesson has talked about long division with the traditional algorithm using a 3-digit dividend and a 1-digit divisor, and does include how to address a remainder.